There has been a request for you to tell the story of what it was like to work at Penny Arcade in the early days.
In the early days?
Early days.
Oh, okay, I can tell the story.
You could just, be an anecdote of your first impressions of people like Robert Koo or these crazy guys.
Let me think. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Kristin and I work for Child's Play and Penny Arcade. And I have worked for Penny Arcade since 2003. So I've been around a very long time. And back when I started, there were only a few of us, which seems so weird now. But I was technically the 5th employee of Penny Arcade. So I'm old, is basically what I'm saying. What was it like? Well, basically Penny Arcade circa 2003 is very much like Penny Arcade circa 2015, which is that we have these guys in the office, Gabe and Tycho, aka Mike and Jerry, who come up with random awesome ideas, and the rest of us are tasked with trying to make them reality. And that was true in 2003 when they said something like, hey, let's have a gigantic video game show and we'll call it PAX. And there were 5 of us and we were going, okay. And it's the same now in 2015 when they're like, okay, now we'll do it in Australia or whatever. Yeah, so the company is pretty much the same. We're I don't know, what was it like meeting them for the first time? I was very nervous because I was a Penny Arcade fan. So I was a little starstruck the first time I met Mike and Jerry. And, I can tell you something super embarrassing.
Yes.
The very, very first time I met Robert Koo was at, it was obviously before he hired me, of course. And we met at a show in Vancouver called NecroWambaCon, which is like sort of a precursor to PAX.
Yeah.
And
it was kind of like a glorified LAN.
it was a LAN, basically. Yeah, it was basically a LAN. And they came up for that, and I think this was in 2002. Anyway, the first time I met Robert Koo, short story, I thought he was Kiko. And that was super, super embarrassing. And I think I called him Kiko, and then I was corrected, and I think I wanted to crawl into a corner and die because it was really embarrassing. Oh, and I brought my daughter with me to that convention, who was 2 years old at the time. And I brought her to the Penny Arcade Q&A, which was like in a little ballroom in a hotel. And in Vancouver, and I mean there were maybe 100 people there. It was quite small, and I had her with me, and Jerry was answering questions on the stage, and my daughter, 2 years old, stood on the table and started shouting "Twinkle, twinkle, little star" really loud, and no one could hear Jerry, and that was also really embarrassing. So yeah, for some reason, despite all of these embarrassing encounters, they decided to hire me, and I've been there ever since. But yeah, that's what Penny Arcade was like in the early days. Just a little bit smaller, but still doing the same sort of things.
Wow. That's awesome. Cool. And you're still there.
I'm still there. They haven't gotten rid of me yet, despite multiple attempts at trying. They fire me all the time, but I just keep showing up.
I think that's the trick to keeping a job.
Yeah, you just refuse to leave.
You just refuse to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
They fire you and you're just like,
And I'm like, no, I think I'll stay.
Pretend you
And
didn't hear
yeah,
it.
that's basically what it was. Yeah, they brought me on to help coordinate volunteers for the first PAX, which was in 2004. So I had started the year before it as we were getting the ball rolling. And the very first PAX, which was at the Maidenbauer Center in Seattle, we had sold I think like 1,300 tickets for that show. Over 3,000 people came, so it was a lot more than we had been expecting, and we had 40 volunteers.
Oh my
total.
God.
Yeah, so I had this team of 40 people, and we thought that we were going to be really good for,
That's like how many volunteers
we
do you
figured
have?
like maybe 1,000.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's what's
yeah,
weird.
Desert Bus is like 40 volunteers.
Probably about the same number as runs Desert
good
Bus.
Lord.
But that's what we had for the first PAX. So, oh, that's the other.
Everything is fine.
Yeah, nothing broke back there at all. Whatever that smashing sound was, it definitely wasn't something breaking. Oh, it's just some high tech.
You didn't like those ones anyway. You've been using mine all week.
The first PAX also, and this is the really silly part, went 24 hours a day.
Oh.
So just imagine that. I know, right? Right? How stupid were we? We thought that sounded really fun. It didn't kind of occur to us, as you
That's
desert
adorable.
busians would know, that when you do something around the clock and never stop.
I think it took us 6 years to figure out that one person for 24 hours was a
Yeah,
bad
it's a
idea.
bad idea.
We also got older and realized that we couldn't physically do it anymore.
Yeah, well,
We're at 8 hours now. Next year it'll be 6, and then it'll just be an hour.
and then everyone will just show up for a few minutes and then leave again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we sort of thought maybe we would switch to. So that 24 hours a day for 3 days model, we shifted away from that quite quickly after the first show. But so these 40 volunteers
We're split over not,
were split over.
not
Yeah.
like an 8 or 12-hour day.
Yeah, it was
Like-
totally insane. And like I said, we had, over double the amount of people that we had initially expected come.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a very steep learning curve, that first PAX in Bellevue. So anybody who was a volunteer or an attendee in that first year, I think should get a badge of honor.
Oh God, yeah.
I survived the first PAX.
They were in the bus with you.
They were definitely in the bus with us, yeah. And it was because it was everything that we do for a PAX now. So it had all of the same components. It was more than just a LAN, right? We had the LAN, but then we also had all of like the console free play. We had all the consoles. We had a very small, comparatively proto expo hall, which seemed big to us at the time. But we got all of these companies to come. So we had an expo hall. We had our main theater seated. I think the main theater there seats like maybe 500 people. And that was our big theater, the 500 people theater.
Oh my gosh.
It's so weird to look back and think of what the numbers were like at that time. And we had the concerts, like we did everything that we do for a full PAX now.
Wow.
Back then, scaled down. And for some reason, we were like, yeah, sure, 24 hours, why not? And 40 volunteers, we're good.
We totally do that.
And yeah, so.
How many? Well, no, I guess they're not really volunteers now. But like, how many people do you bring in?
It
from the
depends on the
outside?
show. The shows vary in size. Our largest PAX that we do right now is PAX East. The building is the biggest and
Right, they
thus
actually
it
grow,
requires
yeah.
the most volunteers. PAX East uses approximately 800 volunteers.
Wow. Slightly larger.
Slightly larger.
Yeah.
I've scaled up a bit. Scaled up a bit. In total, for all 4 shows, 3 in the US and 1 in Australia, we have like a pool of about 3,000 to 3,500 people that volunteer for various combinations of those shows.
So the attendance for the first PAX is now the amount of volunteers?
Yeah, exactly. The total number of attendance for the first year ever is roughly the same as our enforcer pool that we have now.
Wow.
I never thought of that, but that's
You
accurate.
can now have an enforcer convention.
We could. Exactly. We could go. We should have an enforcer convention at the main power. Yeah. Awesome. No, you can't. You cannot. Get back to work, all of you. Get back on the wang shift. They call it black shifting when they work the whole show. We discourage, but that's what some of them manage to sneak behind my back and do.
Wow.
Naughty enforcers. But yeah, we've grown a little bit in those.
Just a little.
Wow. In those 11 years that I've been doing this, the numbers have scaled up.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I think Eric and I were just trying to count it the other day, and it's something like, someone in chat probably knows, but there's like been 20, how many PAXs total? 22, 23? Somebody would know. We're in the low 20s now, I think, in total number of PAXs that we've done between all the 4 shows. It's a lot of enforcers.
Yeah. No, I was an enforcer, and so I
It's
fully
true.
support that program. This launched my career.
And now you're
look
here.
at you now.
No,
Look
but
at you now.
this is like, there are so many people that I've known from, because this has been so long, like this is literally has been over 10 years of doing this now. there are so many people who started out, well, I don't want to say started out as enforcers, but that I met originally as enforcers and have gone on to do like totally cool and awesome things now. And
Yeah,
I'm like the biggest fan. I'm like, oh, that, Liz is doing all this cool stuff now. I remember when she was one of my enforcers. I get that
Thanks,
a lot
Mom.
for everybody.
Look at me now.
Flying
I
off,
grew
flying
up
off
and now
stuff.
cool. Oh, see, thank you very much, PJ. 22 PAX is if you don't count devs, which we should, but because PAX Dev is the industry show. But yeah, 22 PAXes. Man, I'm old. I keep thinking that.
That's a lot of PAXes.
That's a lot of PAXes.
That's a lot.
But they're awesome. That's my day job. Pretty cool, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. 22. That's exhausting. Just thinking.
But at least they're not 24 hours a day.
Yay!
For 7 days.
For 7 days.
You heard it here first. Next PAX.
Next PAX.
24 hours a day.
PAX Desert
Entire
Bus.
You definitely don't need 7 days.